Hello, welcome to lesson 71. This is about fractions, decimals, and percents. Now we've learned about all three, and we can have all three equal to one another if we write them correctly. Example would be a circle that's shaded, and I circle half of it. So I can write that as a fraction, which you all know how to write. Half as a fraction is 1/2 is shaded, which I know you all agree. 0.5 is a decimal, or 5/10 is equal to half also, because the denominator of a decimal fraction would be whatever place value the last digit is in. So the 5 is in the tenths place, we'd put 5/10. If it was in the hundredths place, I would put 5/100. If it was in the thousandths place, I would put 5/1000. Whatever the last digit is in the decimal, that tells you what you're putting it over at, or what you're putting your numerator, your number, over in a fraction. And then 50% of the circle is shaded. Now this is a conversion that you are all very familiar with as far as writing half in different ways. 0.5% is 50%, 5/10 is equal to half, and 1/2 is half. So the example problem that we're going to look at, which I will look over with you and I will do some, and this is the only example problem that our book has, but I'll give you a few others as far as with conversions, and we'll do some more in class because some will be more easier than others. Before, at least after you try the practice problems, we'll go over them and we'll also practice a few more together. So the example problem says the fraction 1/10, 1/10 equals 10% and 1/10. Change both into fractions. So I'm going to change both 10% and 1/10 into fractions. Now percent, remember this is why we've learned that percent is out of 100. So that tells me what my fraction is going to look like, or what the fraction will look like coming from a percentage. So if it's 10 out of 100, I'm going to write that as 10 hundredths. Notice I'm not reducing. So do not worry about reducing at this point. This is exactly how we're looking for it right now. Then we have 1/10. That's our place value, and that tells us what our denominator is, which is 1/10. Both of these are equal, and obviously 1/10 is the exact same as 1/10, written the exact same way at least. This is just the unreduced fraction form, but they are all the same. So this is how I would write it. Percent always means out of 100, so that's how I'd write it as a fraction. And you have 1 in your tenths place. That means I have 1/10. Okay, so the practice set problems are A and B. A says draw a circle and shade 25% of it. What decimal part of the circle did you shade? So you're going to write 25% as a decimal point. Letter B, the fraction 1/5 equals 20% and 2/10, right? Both 20% and 2/10 as fractions, very similar to our example problem. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a few others for you in case you're lost at all as far as conversions of fractions, especially when you have different numbers. I'm not going to do those exact same ones for you because I want you to try those. But if I were to have, for example, we will do 30%. If I want to write 30% as a decimal, this is 30 out of 100. So I would write it as 0 and 3/10, or I could actually add a 0 at the end because this will be 30 hundredths, which is the same thing as 30 out of 100. I could erase the 0, and it's 3/10. And as a fraction, I would write it 3/10. So you could do it this way, 30 hundredths and 3 30 hundredths, or 3/10. So this is how I would convert all of them. Notice hundredths is the last digit that I have right here. 100 is my denominator, and 30% is always out of 100. If I were to have, let's say, 75%, I'll say that. If I have 75%, 75% means out of 100. So that means I have 75 out of 100, or 75 hundredths, and I would write it as 0 and 75 hundredths. So they're all fairly easy conversions right now. We'll go over more in class and do some practice with some manipulatives and get some hands-on materials with this. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll be grading you on participation for the practice set problems that you did. Thank you.